Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Toon review for tonight's match review of Brentford 4, Newcastle 2. Pretty much a debacle in the second half, unfortunately, but we will come on to that. I'm Paul. I'm joined by Stato and Billy tonight. And of course, if you do enjoy the show tonight, please give it the thumbs up in the chat and do subscribe if you're new to the channel and you like what you see. And of course, you can support the channel in the usual two ways. First of all, membership. That's the join button underneath the three of us. And of course, super chats, which are the $ under the live comments. And that will guarantee your comment to be read out on the show. And of course, a massive thank you to our sponsor, Managerial Records. If you're ever based in Whitley Bay, please pop in and see Steve. And they do vinyl music, merchandise, various goods for you all. Memorabilia as well, and of course gift cards and things like that. So please pop in. If you can't get to Whitley Bay, they do have a website that is pinned at the top of the description. Check the website out there. So a big thank you to Managerial Records. And of course, we do have a second channel now, TTR Xtra, the home of football, which is basically everything away from football. Not from football, sorry, from Newcastle United. Billy's just done a fantastic commentary on the game, which finished Tottenham 3, Chelsea 4. Billy commentated on that. It was absolutely superb. So massive well done to Billy. Good evening, chaps.
Good evening, and good evening to all you beautiful people out there in Viewerland.
Indeed. Kush de la Kush has come in with a super chat already. Time for a change. We are delaying the inevitable. So Kush is obviously unhappy. Do we have a poll tonight, guys, or not?
For what?
About
the match?
No.
Well, I don't
do a different poll.
Because I think the tide has turned massively. I, however, haven't. I'm still not wanting Eddie sacked. I think we should keep him for the season, if I'm openly honest with you. But I think time is running out if he doesn't change or results don't change very quick. We're all over the place at the minute. But I'll tell you what, we'll do a poll because I'm interested to see where the fans are with this now. You know, we've said many times that you know, we would do these polls because the viewers like doing them, because it gives us a kind of indication of where the fans are at. You know, so we kind of know where they are. So hang on a second. Let's just do this again. Eddie Howe, in, out, or on the fence. I think there'll be a lot more come off the fence this week. But after that performance, there you go. It's now pinned in the live chat, guys. Get yourself in there, and we'll revisit that at the end of the show. Now, Billy, you know, we started well yesterday. There's no doubt about it. We came out the traps looking hungry. Obviously, two changes. Tonali and Gordon were taken out of the side. Longstaff and Barnes came in. We did go at them early doors. Sean hit the bar with a great shot. But there was, you know, again, it was just individual mistakes, defensive mistakes, lack of concentration, if you will. And we concede.
Yeah, I mean, Brentford come out the traps quick at the G-Tech Stadium. We knew it was going to happen. We started well ourselves, as you say. We had a great effort from Sean Longstaff, which rocketed against the bar. But we just didn't really go on from there. And Brentford took the impetus. Once they started attacking us, we were kind of struggling how to defend them. And the team lineup to me wasn't bad. It was balanced. There's players in the right position. I didn't mind the team lineup whatsoever at all. The only thing was Harvey Barnes doesn't do as much defensive work as an Anthony Gordon does. And maybe we lost out through that. But you couldn't really blame Harvey Barnes for the first goal. But defensive errors, centre-halves were both poor. And Lewis Hall defensively was caught out a few times yesterday. Yeah.
Nick Thornton, thank you for your super chat. He says, Eddie Howe, it was called for Gordon and Tonali to come on. Some of it, I mean, look, I've got Eddie Howe's comments after the game. We'll play them shortly. I know a lot of people were a bit surprised that he mentioned the weather, because obviously both sides had to go through the weather. But you know, lots of talk, Alex, about the players' attitudes.
Yeah, and it's it's not just from random fans either. Alan Shearer came out and
I've got that clip, Alex, as well, so we'll play that shortly as well.
So, yeah, you could say that. I don't think attitude was the issue necessarily. I think it was, in my opinion, it was midfield recovery runs, and it was the two centre halves not being good enough consistently. Fabian Schär more so has been poorer this season. Dan Burn's been okay at the things Dan Burn does well, but there are limitations there. And I think it's indicative of the fact that we've not got Botman plus the new centre half we were supposed to have. And maybe the midfield aren't operating as they should. There's teething problems there with trying to play different players and transition into a different team. There are a couple of fantastic goals from Brentford, but there was a lot we did wrong as well. So very frustrating.
I mean, Billy, it did look, when Brentford scored, we then went back at them. And it did really look as if every time we came forward in that first half, we could score. There was, Isak's goal, fantastic work from Jacob Murphy, looked up, saw him on the penalty spot, clipped the beautiful ball in, great header. And then you think, right, we're going to kick on from here, which, we did, to be fair. We went at them, a couple of more opportunities, and then Isak misses that one-on-one, which I have no idea why he didn't put that in the net. And we did say at the time, I hope we don't rue that miss or rue the opportunities that we're creating here. And then again, Harvey Barnes, I still don't know who he was trying to pass to, by the way, when I've looked at it again. Gives it away. Visser takes it to the edge of the box and curls one the back, and that's 2-1.
Yeah, you couldn't fault the attitude. I mean, people saying about the attitude, but we went behind twice yesterday, and both times we got our heads up, chests out, and pulled it back. It was just once the third one went in, maybe then they've probably thought, well, what's the point of getting ahead and getting level when we're just going to concede again?
Yeah.
The Harvey Barnes one was bizarre. I honestly don't know what he was trying to do, why he did it. But I don't get it. I just don't get it at all. But we should have scored more than 2 in the first half. If we'd have got ourselves ahead in the game, it may have been a different kettle of fish. It may have been the Brentford heads went down. And we should have had we had enough chances to score more than 2 goals the first half. As you mentioned, the Isak one where he goes around the goalkeeper. What he's got to do, tap it in the empty net and takes his time to get it on his right foot. And Flecken gets a hand in. That's not the first time he's done that this season. Can't remember who it was against, but he did it against someone else.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. And we had other chances too. I mean, lots of chances that we probably should have ended up with 3 or 4 goals from. Yeah.
Abs says our left back has all the mobility of a dustbin. Good on the ball, though.
That's ridiculous, Abs.
Lewis Hall has no mobility. Have you seen the amount of times he overlaps? That's a very strange comment, Abs. Very strange to make. Anyway, Alex, Harvey Barnes, good for him. Didn't put his head down and sulk. He went straight back down the other end. Again, great work from Jacob Murphy and, a great finish.
Yeah, I mean, the changes were justified by Eddie Howe as the first half. I think we were really good in the first half. And despite Harvey Barnes making the mistake, it was a bit annoying. The mistake backward sort of pass across our defenders just ended up in Visser just driving between Schär and Dan Burn. There was not a lot they could do. Wow. And it was a fantastic strike as well. But then Harvey Barnes, didn't let his head drop, as you said. And it was clinical Harvey Barnes. And I think we were pretty solid in that first half. I think that, Murphy got 2 assists in that game. Isak scored, Barnes scored. So the front 3, in my opinion, did enough. They did what they're supposed to do in a game. I said this to Billy yesterday. You can't have an expectation of somebody who's an attacker scoring more than a goal a game. Even a goal a game is more than enough. If you score a goal every game, you're getting 38 goals and a golden boot at the end of the season. So it's unrealistic to ask for any more from the attack. In my opinion, I think that was fine. I think you just need to be so much better in defence. That being said, the 2 Brentford strikes were so low value opportunities. They were 2 world-class strikes from Brian Mbeumo and Visser. They were absolutely unsavable, in my opinion. So really frustrating. But I don't think the first half was our problem. I think that it was the second half that was our issue.
Tangy says we've got to be careful what we wish for. Man United and Spurs have bigger problems, having spent a lot more money with higher revenue systems in place. Looney says, I'm sick and tired of the 4-3-3. We need a proper 6 and a 10 to feed Isak. Billy, I don't know what happened after halftime. The first 5 minutes of the second half, it looked like a bit of the same, didn't it? The way the first half had gone, it looked like it was going to be, let's go again. But then a dreadful goal to concede. Goalkeeper takes the free kick. It floats over everybody. And I think it was Collins that stuck it in the back of the net. With 3-2 down, and then we just go to absolute shit after that.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, they've pulled it back twice. They probably thought, what's the point? It's deep down you're going to think, well, we can keep equalising. Can't you lot defend? And the two centre-halves, again, both of them went to sleep, didn't they? Just went to sleep, not concentrating, not picking up men, not getting challenges in. Shocking from the two centre-halves. Simple as that for me.
Right, it was Cher missed the header and Byrne couldn't win the jostle with Collins. So it was both of them involved in that.
Yeah.
It was all over the shop, to be honest. And then, of course, Sharda gets a fourth goal late on in the game, and that was it for me. But I think the whole game was summed up at the end when Nick Pope suddenly tried to be Pele and take on Mbeumo, and just lost the ball. And Mbeumo was unfortunate. It was cleared off the line by Dan Byrne. It could have been 5, and a real embarrassment. Jan says, too many teams playing the ball out from the back. You only can do it when you've got a class team. Kane says, come on, guys, chill, because Brentford at home are a quality side. Give Eddie a chance to get, hopefully, 2 players in, and we know where the positions we need them in. And then at the end of the season, if no European football, then take another look. DK says, Hall has no ability. What about Byrne? The guy's a lamppost. Visser is a fantastic player. He was brilliant second half yesterday, Visser, and I've been critical of him in the past, but I thought he was absolutely brilliant for them yesterday.
I think just to respond to what they've just said in the comments, I think it was the nature of the goals we conceded in the second half that was annoying.
Yeah.
They were avoidable. They were just general mistakes from centre-halves and poor defending. If Brentford had have scored an absolute world-class goal for the third and then shut the door, less frustration from us. I think it was, we played well for a lot of the game. If they'd have won it on a world-class strike, fine. But that didn't happen. They scored 2 more goals in the second half that were very preventable through just mistakes and poor defending. So that's why we're frustrated with it more so.
Even worse than that, so he tightened things up, didn't he? The Brentford manager brought extra defenders on.
Yeah,
and then they scored again, but they weren't even trying to score.
Yeah, it's poor. It's really poor, because I honestly thought at half time, I was thinking to myself, wow, we've conceded 2 goals, but we've conceded 2 goals through poor defending and a mistake. However, I was very positive about the way we were going forward. We were creating chances, creating lots of opportunities. But the second half, we just fell off the rails. And, a lot's been said regarding the attitude of the players. Bruno even said it. I've got a clip of him coming up. This thing about they only perform against the big teams at home, that is all coming to a head now. People are recognizing it from all over the country now. It's not just, Newcastle fans or the Newcastle media. This is becoming a big problem for Newcastle. And the players, the players need to account for themselves as well, because Eddie can't do anything about that dreadful pass from Harvey Barnes. He can't do anything about Sharon Burns switching off. He puts his trust in those players. And quite frankly, Fabian Schär this season has gone off a cliff. He's been dreadful for the most part, absolutely dreadful. And now, is that because he knows there's nobody there for his place to take his place? Nobody's really pushing him, so he can get away with it. I don't know, but the players need to be accountable as well for what's going on. Got some super chats to go through. Spike Milligan says, enough is enough. 90% of goals conceded this season, in my opinion, is because the defence was AWOL, having an afternoon nap. Stop backing off players. Don't let them near the goal. Eddie hasn't learned. Niall says, 28 points dropped against non-cartel. Last season, 18 dropped so far this season. John Adams has been to my first Toon win today. Well done, the lasses, 2-0. The weather must have been on their side. Oh dear. DK35 loans in January, and Ciso from Brighton is available. Abhishek, thank you for yours. Cher would have stopped Visser. Byrne was screaming to tackle Visser. Cher is not good enough defensively. He is very lazy and never 100% concentrated.
Byrne was nowhere near him. Tino got the closest, and he was the fullback on the opposite side.
Yeah.
Poor bloody kid. The two centre-halves were awful.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but if anybody comes out and says, but Dan Byrne made a goal line clearance.
No, I'm sorry. He doesn't recover from that. That makes no difference to me at all. Ronan, thank you for your super chat. Lots of fans seem to be under the opinion we have money to spend in January, and Eddie will be fine. History suggests we can't spend. Eddie's done. Nicholas Lindman, welcome to Members Club. Thank you very much for signing up and your ongoing support. Carlisle Tuna says we need to stop the excuses. Injuries, PSR, weather, etc. Club needs to project positivity. RE Eddie, I'm on the fence. Next two games are must wins. And Chippers, thank you for your super chat. Leicester are only 6 points off us, and they're in a relegation battle. It's very close to the Premier League. I mean, it is genuinely very, very tight in the Premier League. Top and bottom, to be honest. A couple of wins and you're suddenly nearer the top six than anywhere else. But listen, Eddie Howe obviously spoke after the game, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, we didn't defend well enough. Simple as that, really. The goals we conceded, we look back on and we cringe a little bit, I think. Uncharacteristic from us, poor defensively. I could go through all the goals with you and highlight not just one mistake, but 3 or 4 mistakes in every goal. Defend like that, you're not going to win any game. I thought there were some really bright moments with the ball, especially in the first half. There was chances throughout both halves, but you can't defend like that and win games.
Is it quite hard for you as head coach to account for some of that?
I think there's a lot of individual errors naturally today because of the weather, so I think that made it a scrappy game from both sides. I think there's a lot of moments where it was hard for defenders to judge with the wind, but that's no excuse for us, because I think if you look at the goals, the wind's not directly involved in sort of any of the goals from us. It's, as I say, it's individual errors. We weren't cohesive as a team. We didn't help each other. We left too many people individually 1v1. And as I say, we got punished. I mean, I think the third goal was the killer goal for us, because that's come from just a long punt up the pitch, a dead ball free kick, and I couldn't believe, we conceded in that moment where the game was on a knife edge.
Now, he said a couple of things there, that the weather impacted some individual errors, but then went on to say that the goals weren't caused by individual errors, which one clearly was. Harvey Barnes' pass was an individual error. There's nothing we can do about that. And then obviously the backing off is the problem. But then he says uncharacteristically for us, Billy. Well, it's not, is it? Because it's happened so many times this season, and that's a worry. That he's saying uncharacteristically, but it's not. We've been making those same mistakes since the start of the season.
100%. We've let 7 in our past 2 games. You score 3 at home, you should be getting maybe a win. If you score 2 away, you shouldn't be losing the game. But because we're conceding that many, it's put us beyond the 8 ball. Yeah, the centre halves are massive problems for us. He's got other centre halves he can play. Lloyd Kelly. I know he wasn't great last time he played, but surely he deserves a chance ahead of one of the 2 that are misperforming now. Surely he does. You can't just keep playing the same players and expect different results.
Yeah. Slothy says, can't we criticise Howe without wanting him out? Exactly, mate. I mean, we can criticise Howe, absolutely. But I can criticise him, and I don't want him fired yet. So, people can have a go at me for criticising him, but I don't want him sacked. But he's on a thin line now. And I think the next few fixtures coming up are massive. Nick Thornton, thank you for another super chat. The weather didn't impact Brentford, did it? No, it didn't. By the way, just looking at Mbeumo's goal, the first Brentford goal, did you see the way he took that down on the side of his foot? Fantastic piece of skill.
An outstanding player, isn't he?
Just get him in. Go for him. Go for him in January. He was dangerous the whole game. And he's one of those wingers, Alex, that he will try things all the time, whether they come off or they don't. He'll still keep trying.
Yeah, well, he's Premier League proven. He's confident. He's got a very good goal scoring record now. He's very comfortable in the league. You can see he's high quality. He's the right age profile. it would be a perfect fit for us. I've got no doubts, and it's but I think based on what we've seen there, a new centre half is needed. And I disagree with Billy's previous point. I don't think Lloyd Kelly solves anything. I think we've conceded once from a corner this season, and it was
No, it
the
doesn't
only
solve
game
anything.
Lloyd
But
Kelly
you
played.
can't keep playing the same players who are misperforming week in, week out, Sparrow.
No, I think Burn has to play regardless because of purely from defensive set piece
Well, play him on the
standpoint.
left hand side, play him on the right hand side then. Play Kelly on the right hand side, play Burn there.
Yeah, I think Burn's got to stay in the team though, purely for that. I appreciate he's got limitations on his passing and technical ability, but we don't lose games because Burn isn't a fantastic passer. You can create from other areas, but I think Burn has to stay in the team. It's Fabian Schär for me that's completely dropped off a
I
cliff.
would say if you would ask me out of the two centre backs right now, who should be dropped, it's Fabian.
I agree.
He's just not. He isn't performing.
The problem is, and I said this to you yesterday, Billy. The two centre halves right now, in theory, are our second team centre halves.
Yeah.
Because Botman is the first choice left-sided centre half, and we were going to buy a new right-sided one. So they were meant to be the first pair in theory on paper. So the two centre halves now are second string. When you kind of we haven't got any rotation really to try and shake things up that I think is useful enough. There is Kelly, fine, but on the right side we've always had Lascelles to come in, and we Lascelles had his problems years ago, but he did a lot of work to improve his game. And was always a nice rotation option for us in the last couple of years when Fabian wasn't available. Lascelles has come into the side and done really well for us. And because he's out, it was Emil Kraft, who is done okay, but again, he's very limited at what he can do progressive-wise. And he's not got the umph that Lascelles has got. And then there's no other options. We released Dummett, not that we would want to use him anyway, but there's nothing really that we can do. And it's a lack of recruitment. So whether that's poor recruitment, PSR, a bit of both, but it's what Eddie Howe described a few weeks ago, stale. He's managed to fluff up the attack a bit. Whatever we've changed, a bit more balanced up front. We've scored 5 goals in the last 2 games. It's fantastic. But we're just absolutely shaky at the back.
Yeah. Absa's problem is if we lose Schär, we have no passing quality from the back. It's a big problem because defensively he's a liability. It's a good point, and Eddie mentioned that in his press conference. He did say about Schär's capability from the back, passing out and things like that. But
that's why Lascelles would be a nice middle ground, but he's just not available.
I'd rather just have a defender who can defend properly rather than ping a pass 40, 50 yards, to be quite honest, at the minute. It's I think we've got other players in the team who can set the goals up. Let's.
I'm also getting pelters for the Kraft take as well. Just because he had a few good games as a stand-in does not mean he's going to be competent for another 30 games this season.
No, he's not the answer.
Absolutely
not. Definitely not.
It's technical ability, long-range passing, switches, reading all of the game as a centre-half's perspective. I think we would lose way more points over the course of a season. Just because he was good in the stand-in games does not suddenly qualify him to be a fantastic centre-half for the rest of the season. No, that's not how that works.
Peter McCardle, thank you for your super chat. How wanted Kelly Asula and doesn't play them? He's already mentioned numerous times that Asula was bought for the future. The Blubber King says, sorry, Paul, but if you listen, he said the goals were caused by individual errors. That said, his comments are worrying more and more. I'm not sure I heard it like that, but
he said individual errors due to the weather, I think he said.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Harvey Barnes back pass was due to the weather. He chose that pass.
Yeah. He definitely did. It was a terrible, terrible mistake. Anyway, Bruno spoke after the game as well, and this is what the captain had to say.
First half we have some good moment, but the second half we become a mess. After the third goal, we lost our way, we lost control. We become a mess in the pitch. Very disappointed. I think after the last game against Liverpool, we would arrive here today and play our best football. First half, I think we did some good stuff, but we have to stop to concede. We have been conceding a lot this season. We've got Champions League. We didn't concede as much as we have been given. This is not a problem about just the defense. It's a problem of midfield, a problem for the attack. It's the team problem. we have to stop this. But our season, being honest, has been very, very disappointing.
I guess the question that the fans have is why can you play so well against Liverpool in midweek and then it does fall apart as you said
we
today?
have not been consistent. We have the fire consistency. We cannot play against Liverpool, Arsenal, top 6 one way, and the other team the other way. Is what exactly is happening. We have to fix it. It's a shame to every game come here and give the excuse because we cannot play in the same way that we have been playing. You have to be consistent if you wanna be in Europa football again.
I think Billy Bruno's been, very honest there.
Brutally honest and refreshing for him to say so.
Yeah.
I think the consistency comes down to the lack of balance that the manager changes. I mean, we played well until he started making subs yesterday. And then as soon as he started making subs, took the balance away, then we capitulated.
But I mean, the thing is, Alex, Eddie's been asked about the inconsistency, and he just keeps saying he doesn't know. He doesn't know, and clearly, Bruno addressed it there in his interview. Said we have to defend as a team. He wasn't calling out the defense; he was calling out everybody that we have to be better and we have to fix the consistency problem.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with Billy there. The third goal from Brentford came before any subs had been made, so that was just down to the centre half mistake.
Individual error. Yeah.
And then I do agree with the follow-on point though that the subs destroyed that. What was the second bit, Paul? Sorry, mate, you asked about 3 bits there.
Yeah, just about the consistency. Bruno's very honest there and said that but Eddie himself, when he's asked about the consistency, he says he doesn't know. He doesn't know what's causing it.
Well, he agrees though. He does agree. He's agreed to that. Anthony Gordon's referenced it.
They know it's there.
Bruno's
they know it's there.
now
They're aware of it. Yeah.
So, despite Luke Edwards' tweet last week saying, it's not inconsistent because we nearly beat Everton down to a penalty and he has since changed his tune a week later. Now gets hot. Well, that's another comment. But they've all say it. A lot of the fans are saying it. We're saying it. Bruno's saying it. The manager's saying it. Anthony Gordon's saying it. It's completely fair. Alan Shearer's saying it. If anybody has a go at you for stating that we are inconsistent, I feel like this has gone beyond an opinion now. The fact that the players, the manager, the ex-players, the pundits, us and most of the fans are all saying roughly the same thing. I think they're in quite a small little group saying that we are being consistent and there aren't any problems. But it's as we've all said, you can disagree and criticize and still be Eddie in. There doesn't have to be you can make your own minds up on that. And we're allowed to criticize without thinking that Eddie needs to go. And I personally don't want Eddie out. I still want Eddie in. I'd like to see some players come back from injury, i.e. Botman and Lascelles, and then some transfers in January and let him do the season. And then if none of this improves, if we're still having the same conversations at the end of this season, then there needs to be a realistic conversation about how do we kick on from this.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan makes a point there about bringing Miggy on. He's never been in. He's never come on.
You got to try him, haven't you?
In recent, he was dreadful though, wasn't he? He was absolutely
so bad.
He was terrible. But Billy, the substitutions were again a talking point. Obviously, we said during commentary that we would have rather him left Jacob Murphy on to keep the balance because certainly Murphy for me had done nothing wrong to be taken off. And suddenly moves Barnes to the right side and puts Gordon on, but that upset the balance straight away.
Yeah, he's bringing on one player to change 2 positions, which it's madness. Especially as Jacob Murphy was having a good game. He was playing well. He 2 assists out of the game, following on from his performance on Wednesday. I don't think he deserved to come off. He didn't look tired. To bring Gordon, maybe to bring Gordon on, I agreed with that. You take Barnes off, just change one position for one player.
Yeah,
every time he made yesterday was kind of dodgy in that way when he brought Trippier on for Lewis Hall.
Yeah, it was madness. Square pegs and round holes, wasn't it?
Madness. We had a creative outlet with Lewis Hall on the left hand side. To put Tino out there, obviously he's not left footed. Okay to play him at left back if you need to, because we're short of players. But when you've got a creative left back on the pitch already, why take him off to bring on a creative right back? Makes no sense.
Yeah.
None whatsoever.
Though obviously, Tonali missed a good header opportunity towards when it was 3-2 to Brentford. He headed it over. Nick Thornton, thank you for your super chat. If things don't improve, our best players may go away. Joe Linton, Alex, I wouldn't have started him yesterday. And I think me and Billy had a conversation about this during commentary because he did not look comfortable. There was various times he was down holding his shoulder. Clearly was a problem for him. And, if there was ever a game maybe Longstaff could have come into yesterday to replace Joe Linton and give him a break, because I don't think he was fully fit.
I don't know. I'd have to disagree. I think they've made that call. I think they're being a lot more careful on injury calls and if people are ready. And I think that's why Anthony Gordon and Sandro Tonali were on the bench. Eddie Howe stated in his press conference some players were recovering slower than others and were a bit. And if they want to make that call, I'm cool with that. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, and you're never going to see the benefits of that call. And I mentioned this yesterday. If Anthony Gordon came on, if Anthony Gordon started that game and pulled a hamstring, we would all be saying, wow, why didn't we rest him? Why didn't we rest him? So you can never get a positive from that. You can't tell. So I think Joe Linton played because he clearly recovered well and passed all the tests, and they thought, right, well, yeah, cool, we'll play him. But yeah, that shoulder's clearly bothering him.
Well, he was down 3 or 4 times. I mean, 3 times I think he went down the first half. He was clearly hindered by it.
Yeah, it's definitely when he has a tough duel. I mean, duel-wise, yesterday he was 4 out of 12 duels, which is terrible.
That's what I'm talking about, Alex.
Yeah,
you've got Joe Linton there who plays such a physical game. It's going to knock him off his game when he's got a shoulder injury because of the physicality of the man. That's why I'm saying that. I was surprised because the amount of times he was clearly in pain with it. And it was a shame. Now, Alan Shearer on Match of the Day had some very stinging words for Newcastle United, and this is the legend's thoughts on yesterday.
I don't like the attitude of several of the Newcastle players. You can't just turn up in the big home games. They drew with Liverpool, they drew with City, they beat Spurs, they beat Chelsea, they beat Arsenal. This is worrying because 2 years ago we were praising Newcastle all the time for their energy, for their closing down, for their pressing. There's none of it. That's not good enough. It's not acceptable. From a Newcastle point of view, defensively, they're all over the place. And it worries me because I look at them and I look at they're lacking the energy that we're so used to seeing a year or two ago.
So, Billy, questioning the attitude of some of the players. Quite stinging assessment.
It is. It is very stinging. How you look at the centre half, the number 5. He's the biggest epitome of that for me.
Mm-hmm.
His attitude's been wrong all season.
Yep.
All season.
Alex?
I mean, there have been points when we've suggested this and we get crucified for it. The fact that Big Al's come out and said it, I think it's okay now. I think now he's come out and said this, but there are a few. Yeah. Sometimes I don't like Barnes' attitude, but then he does shut you up with a really nice drive and run. So that I don't think Barnes is a problem. I think the main culprit for me is Fabian Schär. I think Billy's right. I think Dan Burn has a great attitude. I think it's just limitations and stuff, that hence the goal line clearance towards the end. Dan Burn's attitude is spot on. I like, that's why he's in the leadership group. Joe Linton maybe with his niggling injuries. Fabian Schär definitely. I can't really pinpoint anybody else though. I'm not quite sure who he would.
Gordon at times has been a bit, hasn't he?
Yeah. I thought he tried a lot to make things happen yesterday though. Gordon came on.
Yeah, he did absolutely. Made some great runs to the byline. The thing I think he said later on as well that he doesn't. Later on in the game yesterday, that there was only a couple of Newcastle players. Pushing forward, like Tonali and Longstaff. At one stage, he highlighted them two, and there was nobody else up with them. And Longstaff's got his arms out as if to say, "Where is everybody?" So I think there's a lot of questions for Newcastle United players to answer here because Eddie was clearly annoyed yesterday. He was clearly disappointed with some of the performances. And it's getting to the stage now where we also have to look at the players because, Fabian Schär is a lead. He's in the leaders group, isn't he? You know, he's. But if he's showing a lazy attitude and doing what he does, I mean, there was a couple of passes yesterday that were just stinking, absolutely stinking, where he just looks up and he does that lazy little pass that goes straight to the opposition player, and then. You know, does that have a knock-on effect, do you think, Billy, with the rest of the sides, you know, being pissed off, and it just generates a big sort of, you know, like if he does something wrong and then just puts his head down and frustration kicks in?
I'll put it this way. If Roy Keane played in the same side as Fabian Schär, he'd have black eyes every week.
Yeah.
He would. Roy Keane wouldn't allow it to happen. And Bruno should be more vociferous than that, and so should players around him. Really. And the manager should really, because he can see it week in, week out. It's not hard to see. We all see it.
It's very true. And Alex, I was going to make this point. Billy made a good point there about somebody like Roy Keane. But when you look at our players, you very rarely see them going at each other. You know, whether that be to get them going or to give somebody a bollocking. You don't see that anywhere on the pitch.
I think it's a difficult one because you need the tenacity and kind of leadership qualities of Dan Burn, but then you need the quality of somebody like Bruno to back it up as well. Roy Keane was an asshole, but he was also a very good footballer. And I think we've got, you know, our leaders are either good leaders or good footballers. We've not got anybody that's a bit of both at the moment.
Even the goalkeeper started. Say Peter Schmeichel wouldn't accept that. No way on God's earth.
No, not a chance. I mean, we don't really have that kind of nature. I mean, you know, we like Sven Botman, and he's a bit of a Terminator. But even I know he's not available right now, but even he seems like a bit of a teddy bear. We need somebody. We don't have that character, and that's us kind of assuming that is what we need right now. But yeah, we do need some people to hold others accountable, because I think Bruno sometimes. I don't know. Does the on-pitch leadership help?
I think it does. And I think it's been proved in the past that it does with the likes of...
I mean, I think he leads by example, but then sometimes you don't need that. You need your captain to walk up and go, "Oi, you, stop pack in whatever you're doing right now and switch on." I don't think we've got people that do that as much, but I think Dan Burns is the only one that will do it. But when he's having a tough game as well, you've got to take him out the line of fire. It's like when Harry Maguire was captain of Man United. Like he was having a lot of problems himself with his own game, and it's hard to whinge at everyone else when you're struggling. Yeah. And although Dan Burn wasn't doing anything super wrong, but it wasn't his greatest game, and it's hard to criticise others when you're struggling. It's why Lascelles had a problem for ages as well. It's just...
Well, let's go through each individual player now and talk about them. We'll do the player ratings. So get your player ratings in the chat, see if you agree with us. And again, if you don't, put an adult conversation as to why. I like coffee with a super chat. Thanks, buddy. How does Target get a place on the bench but not Miley? I'm not even going to get started on Matt Target because that just pisses me off. Exactly. Billy came out with a cracker during the commentary yesterday about my targets. So the dude was snowing. I can't remember what it was, but God Almighty, it was hilarious.
Out of pitch with that win.
Yeah, something like that. It was class. Anyway, let's start off with Nick Pope, Billy.
Well, he's let 3 in, and I don't think any of them he could have stopped really. But he doesn't inspire confidence at times, and yesterday was one of those games where he didn't inspire confidence in his back four. He's not commanding enough for me sometimes. He's got to marshal the penalty area and be vociferous. You never see that with Nick Pope. You never see it. He looks very nervous, very kind of within himself. I'll give him a 5.
5. I've gone with a 4. I thought he was all over the bloody place yesterday.
I forgot about that thing at the end. That back, I'll give him a 4.
Yeah. Okay. The not just the commanding of his box, but he came out a few times yesterday trying to punch the ball when it was blatantly easier to catch it. Now I know it's windy conditions, but when you've got the ball coming straight into your arms, just catch the damn thing. He made some terrible punches yesterday. Then the incident with Mbeumo. Then there was one where the ball came across. Nick Pope goes, it did take a slight deflection, gathered that, but then he stuck his arm out. It went under him and hit the post. He was just all over the place yesterday, Pope.
I thought that was a good save. I thought that was a good save.
Well, you think it's a good save. I disagreed during the commentary. I still do now. I think I just think he was all over the place. And you know, he's got to be better. He's got to be better. Full stop. But you can say that about a lot of the Newcastle side right now. Alex?
Yeah, I think 4's fair. We conceded 4 goals. And he had that ridiculous error at the end. I don't know what he's doing there. He's tidied up the sweeper keeper stuff compared to what he was doing 2 years ago. He just heads it out for a throw every time if he's not sure, just to avoid that silly red card that happened way back when. And then he goes and does that out of nowhere. Ball,
and Buemo's nowhere near him, mate. He stands with the ball for about 4 or 5 seconds before Buemo even gets there, and then he just doesn't have a clue what to do with it.
Yeah, there's no excuses for that. He'll know that. It's got to be a 4. There's no way. I think the first 2 goals that Brentford score, you can't save them. It's very rare anybody's going to.
Well, he got a finger on the fist of one. He got a finger too, but yeah, we
conceded 4 and he's made some mistakes. He gets. I think it's
7 goals in 2 games is not a great record, by the way. Livermento, Bill.
Yeah, the lad's definitely having a closer confidence in him, I think. And you can tell that by the way he's so kind of indecisive when he gets into the attacking third. Defensively, generally pretty good, but I think the teams can get at him. I'll give him a 4 as well.
Okay. Alex?
No, I'll give Tino a 6. I don't think he was the problem. I didn't think he was great. But 62 out of 65 passes, a few really nice, tidy driving runs as well to get us on the attack. Keane Lewis Potter and Carvalho were a little bit difficult to handle sometimes, but he wasn't the problem. He was, again, he's learning. I'll go with a 6.
Okay, I've gone with a 5.5. There was a couple of, like Alex said, a couple of good runs he made. One way he took about 5 Brentford players on and then was eventually tripped. That was the old Tino that we know. I do agree with Billy saying he's got a little bit of crisis of confidence, certainly going forward. When he gets to a certain point on the pitch, there was a good one yesterday, Billy, in the first half. We were just talking about it, and then he went and did it. Murphy gave him the ball down the right. He had a good opportunity to take the ball further down the pitch and get a cross in. But he turned it back and it went all the way back to Cher, and Cher went back to Pope, and the move just died off completely. So I do think he struggles a little bit with that. If I'm honest, I'd put Trippier in for a few games. Just take Tino out for a while. Again, there's no harm in bringing Trippier in. I think we need a bit of leadership on the pitch at the minute, and Trippier is not frightened to have a go at anybody either. Maybe we just need him back for a few games. Lewis Hall, Bill?
Tough game for the lad, defensively especially. Yeah, didn't get much help from anyone in front of him. But he should be able to defend himself. And then Buemo really had the run over him yesterday. I liked the stuff he did going forward creatively. Some of the passing he did was great. I wouldn't have taken him off. I'd have kept him on because he offers us an outlet. But defensively, kind of brings his mark down. So I'll give him a 4 as well.
4. Guys, I know there's a lot of people asking us about Dan Ashworth in the chat and about him leaving Manchester United. Listen, I don't want to give him any airtime, to be honest. That's why we haven't spoke about it. He shit on us. And now it's, fate has come back and slapped him in the face. So I don't care where he's going to end up now. I don't care about Dan Ashworth. I care about Newcastle United. Ashworth has nothing to do with us anymore. The guy, it's hilarious. Don't get me wrong. It's so hilarious after, he shit on us. But that's what you get. It's come round and he's been hit in the face with numerous eggs, and it's funny. But that's all I'm going to say on it. Because
nice garden, huh?
Yeah, well, he'll have a lovely garden now. Lewis Hall, Alex?
I thought he was really good. I thought they didn't help him in the first 10 minutes, and Buemo ran at him several times in the opening 10 minutes, and he conceded territory quite a lot, kept backpedaling. It was a little bit silly. But he tried to do a lot of early like pre-running to just make sure he wasn't run out too much. But yeah, so marked down for that, and that was kind of the cause of the first goal, albeit it was a fantastic strike from him. But we needed a bit of midfield cover, because if they play that fantastic ball across and then Buemo has a good first touch, it's Lewis Hall against him. And all he's going to do is try and just sort of jockey and mirror and match the run and be careful. If he puts a foot in and Buemo's just going to go around him, it's really, really hard. He needs support when he's got a player of that quality, one-on-one. And I'm not going to mark Lewis Hall down terribly on that. I thought he was great, though. 8 clearances in the game. I thought his set-piece contributions were really cool. The nice, funky new corner short routines that were lovely. A couple of decent chances from those. I liked his game. I'm going to give him a 7.
7. Okay. I've given him a 6. I thought he was okay. I thought he was, he struggled a little bit at times, but other times he was, the overlapping was brilliant. He was actually played in a couple of times. I was disappointed with his final ball when he did get into them positions, but that'll come. He's not used to being played in like that because we've ignored him most of the time. Peter Garthwaite, thank you for your super chat. Do you think we should be looking to get rid of the likes of Tyndall and not Eddie himself? Eddie won't get rid of Tyndall. I guarantee you.
Never happen.
Never in a
you watched
million
the Simon
years.
Jordan interview, Eddie Howe, the amount he talked about that team.
Yeah.
Never going to happen.
I agree with Susan, actually. Susan Fagan says Eddie would leave if Tyndall leaves. Straight, absolutely. They're a team.
That's for sacking him alone, I think.
Right, Fabian Scher, Billy.
1 out of 10. Absolutely dreadful.
Oh, good
Terrible
God.
attitude. At fault for 2 or 3 of the goals by not doing things he should have been doing. Dreadful. 1.
Alex?
Completely agree with Billy. What did he do right? What did he do right in that game? I mean, maybe the issue with the Harvey Barnes pass, not a lot of the 2 centre halves can do about that, because you've got Visser just running straight between the middle of the centre halves. They're trying to get in the way. The damage is done at that point. So maybe that's the only goal I'm not going to blame Scher partly for. But the other 3, he could have been involved in the other 3 to some capacity. Maybe the Sharda one, it depends who was marking who. But just the overall game, he was poor, really, really poor. We don't like giving 1s unless people have been really that bad. But I think it really was that bad. I'll go with a 1.
Okay. I've given him a 2. I think I might have overrated him by what you two have just come out with. I may be being generous, which is very different for me. I'm normally looking at Alex thinking, what the hell are you scoring him higher for? But maybe...
He made 3 long balls as well, which it's meant to be his strength.
Well, he made 3 long balls.
Yeah, that was it.
Well, that's why I'll give him a 2 then. His defending was bullshit. Absolute bullshit. You know what? If I was manager, I would get it. I saw an attitude like that. I would get him in my office, and I would absolutely drill him verbally, Billy. And I really have a go at him. Because sometimes you need to get a hold. You need to get a hold. Shake the sodden man. Whatever this lackadaisical attitude is with him, I don't know what it is, but it's affecting us massively at the minute. Or maybe time has caught up with him. It could be as simple as that. But
I don't like playing two left-footed centre halves at the same time. I know there's a bunch of people that will hate that, but that's my preference. I like the sort of balanced centre halves. But I would just play Kelly and Byrne together at this point because I'm sick of Fabian Scher.
Yeah. Right, Dan Byrne, Billy.
Well, the difference between him and Fabian Scher is it hurt him. What happened yesterday hurt him. He was still crap, but at least he was putting effort in, and that kind of goal-line clearance right at the end epitomised that.
Yeah.
I'll give him a 3.
3.
Yeah, I was going to give him a 4, but then I went to a 3.
Okay, no problem. I've gone with a 3 as well. I think we conceded 4 goals. When you concede 4 goals and the centre backs play as poorly as they have, it was dreadful. And I felt for Dan Byrne yesterday because I know what it means to him. And you've alluded there that he was hurt by that yesterday, and you could see. I mean, he genuinely hurts when it doesn't go our way. So yeah, disappointing, but 3 for me. Alex?
I think even a 4 is generous. We've conceded 4 goals. It's so bad, and he was involved in several of them. But yeah, I agree with everything that Billy just said. That it's definitely hurt Dan Burn more. He the attitude wasn't a problem with Dan Burn. He fights for the cause, but it was poor. It was very poor. So I'll go with the 4.
A 4. It's very generous of you, Alex. Sean Longstaff, Billy.
Hard to mark because I thought he had a really good first half, but then disappeared out of the game. But he wasn't on his own in that. Other players that have more reputable reputations, dare I say, did the same. I'll give him a 6.
6. Alex?
Yeah, I mean, we needed more legs. We needed recovery runs when there was a turnover to help the back 4, and it just never happened. And there were many players at fault for that. Joe Linton, Longstaff, Tonali. So many players didn't run back when they were supposed to, or when we really needed them. But I mean, it was a tidy performance from Sean. He didn't do loads wrong. I agree that I think he went missing a bit in the second half. The whole time he was on the pitch, he only misplaced 1 pass. He was very tidy, and the shot that hit the crossbar was brilliant as well. He doesn't get credited with a shot on target for that, which I think it was as good as. I've got to give him a number. It's really difficult. I'll go for a 6. I can't give him any higher than that because of what's happened in the game. And he could have contributed to that defensively as well. Maybe not his primary job, but go for a 6.
I've gone 6.5, mainly for his first half performance, to be fair. Had that good shot very early doors. Could have scored, did some decent things in the first half. And we did sort of highlight that through the commentary of the first half. But then the second half, well, like the whole team disappeared. Bruno, Bill?
Yeah, pretty similar to Sean, actually. They kept him out the game second half, and he was still trying, and you can't fault his effort because that's what he's all heart, isn't he? With quality in it, but didn't see it second half. I'll give him a 6 as well.
6. Alex?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I think I'll go with a 6 as well. I think he was good in the first half. I think he was very quiet in the second half until, I can't remember when I've noted it, 70, 75 minutes. He suddenly sprung into the game, but he really took ages to get going in the second half.
Yeah.
And I think that will have hurt him as well. I think he wants to win absolutely. He wants to win games of tiddlywinks. He'll win everything. Yeah, and frustrating game for him. I'll give him a 6.
Rabbit Non says, I was at the match. Longstaff was okay. It was Joe Linton who was totally missing that game. The rain was lashing down. It was freezing cold. Bruno was wearing his gloves. Well, we're coming on to Joe Linton now. Billy?
Did some good stuff first half, but he's definitely hampered by his shoulder. No doubt about that. I'll give him a 5.
5. I've given Joe a 4. It hurts me to say that because he's my favourite player, but I don't think he was fit yesterday. Did start the game very well, did get amongst it first half, but faded very, very quickly. Alex?
I'm going to go with a 4. I wasn't super impressed with him at all. First half was meh. It was okay, but I think he needs a rest. I think it's he could have done with that yellow card again. Because now if we're going to actively rest him and then he comes back and gets booked, he's stuttering in his run of games, which is really annoying. I think he needs dropping. Personally, I would start Tonali on the left side of that midfield and start Sean on the right. And at least it's reasonably balanced. Tonali does it for Italy. He's got the pace and power and physicality to do the defensive work as well. I think Joe Linton needs a break.
Yeah. Jacob Murphy, Bill.
Yeah, I thought he had a really, really good first half. Was taken off way prematurely for me. 2 assists, threatening all the time. good work rate to get back and help sometimes as well.
Yeah.
7.5.
That's exactly what I've scored him, Billy. 7.5. I thought he was excellent, mate. I really shouldn't have been taken off. I don't understand that substitution. It completely knocked the balance of the side. We stopped giving him the ball early doors in the second half for some reason. You know, we were giving him plenty of the ball in the first half, but he just wasn't receiving it in the second. But I thought, you know, his assist for Isak was superb, because at first we thought it was a shot. But then, of course, you see the goal again. You see him look up. You see him. He obviously spots Isak on the penalty spot and played a beautiful ball in. It was a great finish. And then again, good tenacious. Got a bit lucky with a rebound, with a deflection for the second goal. But you know, you make your own luck, and he played it into Murphy to Barnes. Sorry, and Barnes did the rest. So very impressed with Murphy. Alex.
I'm going to give him a 9. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. I thought he was brilliant. The 2 assists were of the highest quality. It's something that we've really needed. And it's what we challenged him to do after the Liverpool game, is say, right, Jacob, you've had a great game against Liverpool, but we keep getting this where we get a good game and then not a good game. And then we need some consistency on the right and to bring that balance. And he did it. The assist for Isak, I think, was absolutely sublime. It's a piece of creativity we've not seen. I don't think we've seen that ball once this season from anybody. No, yeah. And we've had a lot of people standing in that position. Sean, Bruno, Sandro, we've had a lot of people stood in that exact area. Murphy's the only guy who's tried it. And Isak very switched on. I thought the ball to Harvey Barnes, the patience from Jacob Murphy, he was tripled up on. He was so patient to try and release that ball when there was an option. Not just like Tino's been doing, just throwing it in.
There's a few people saying in the chat it was a shot. No, it wasn't a shot. If you look at that in slow motion, looking just before he clips that ball in, he looks up and he sees Isak. He's clearly looking at Isak. It doesn't even hit him like a shot.
You don't put left spin on it. No, that's a shot. He's curling it into the box.
Of course he is.
Not a shot.
He didn't
unless
even
he's mishit it.
Yeah, which he didn't. Because if he's going for a left-footed shot, he'd hit that with a lot more pace. And he clipped it beautifully. I think you're doing him an injustice there, because you watch the slow motion clearly across. Harvey Barnes, Billy.
I can't get that pass out of my head. To give him a proper goal. I
just can't get it out of my head.
I mean, he scored a goal, but even though he scored a goal, I'm going to give him a 5, because that pass was absolutely horrific, and he didn't do an awful lot else either. First half, he was okay. He was threatening at times. But that pass, good grief.
Horrific. The thing is, it wasn't just a bad pass. It was a pass that led to a goal.
There's no rhyme or reason for it, though. He wasn't even looking. He just lazy, awful, dog shit.
I've given him a 6 because I do think, he didn't sulk. He got on with it. He went straight down the other end of the goal and scored. And I think for about 15 minutes after that, he was superb. He was dribbling. He was getting to the byline. He was doing all sorts. So I think it was a kick up the arse for him personally. But I can't score him any higher because I know he scored, but the pass was just shocking. Alex.
Yeah, I'll go with a 6. I think that's fair. Nice to see the resilience, because I've called him out several times about bottling it in big physical games, especially away from home.
Yeah.
And he bottled it and then he fixed it. So awful pass, shocking awareness, really poor reading of the game from again. That's something you expect when you buy a young winger. We bought him because he was meant to be the finished product. So that's really frustrating to keep having things like this happen. But the goal was fantastic. I mean, the awareness to understand because he took several touches away from goal to create himself the space. And then on the half turn, well, the full turn, if we're calling it that, it was basically a full 360 at that point. And then slots it in a corner as well. Super, super precise. And I thought he was fairly good until he came off. Maybe he should have come off a little bit earlier in the second half. But yeah, again, you can't blame Harvey Barnes for the loss, in my opinion, because he got back to a net zero himself. He messed up to concede a goal, but then he scored a goal. And as an attacker, you can't really ask more than your attackers of get a goal, and that's what he did. So,
yeah. Isak, Bill.
Again, first half looked outstanding, hungry, wanted the ball, dropped deep to make sure he wasn't isolated. Scored a goal, should have scored another one, really. I'll give him 7.
7. Alex?
Well, same again. I can't mark him down or be harsh on him because he scored a goal. So scored a goal against Liverpool, scored a goal against who do we play? Brentford. Yeah. He's I'll give him an 8 because he scored and he looked really threatening and he looks up for it. I love how he's contributing to games, not just with goals. He's running the channels, he's being a bit more physical, a bit more creative. He's winning, he's holding up the ball in interesting ways, using his lanky legs to did you see he almost did some funny bounce pass with his leg as well at one point to try and win it. He's being a bit more creative. He's in form. Isak again. Isak, Murphy, Barnes for me, not the reason why we didn't take points from that game.
I've given him an 8 as well, and the reason I've given him an 8 is because I thought his work rate was right up there, like Billy said. He was chasing balls down, chasing defenders. He do it for me. One-on-ones are the things he needs to. It's a couple of one-on-ones that he's missed now, and done the same thing with.
It's not a one-on-one, so just actually getting past the goalkeeper and just not tapping an empty net.
He delayed his decision. He took an extra touch, and the goalkeeper scooped round with his arm. That was why he took the extra touch because there was a defender in the goal, so he wanted to try and get that defender off balance, presumably. But in doing so, let the goalkeeper have enough time to recover it.
He did it again, didn't he? It's the second time he's doing it. I can't remember who the one was against.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you see that ludicrous display last night? The thing about Isak, he always tries to walk it in.
Yeah, he did score.
He scored a header, and did you see the goal against Liverpool? Because that certainly wasn't trying to walk it in. Strange comment, that one. Sandro Tonali, Billy, came on as substitute.
Ineffective. Yeah, didn't do anything really. I'll give him a 5.
5. Yeah, 5 for me as well. Alex?
Won the duels when they were needed, tried to get in the box a couple of times and make things happen when other people weren't willing to. But then a couple of really bad efforts at defensive runs. And he's been great at them recently. A few moments where he just didn't run back when he was supposed to. Really didn't like that. And it is out of character based on how he's played recently. I'll go with a 5 as well, right down the middle.
Gordon, Billy?
Couldn't fault his effort. He was trying to get to the byline, and he did it a few times. I'll give him a 6.
Alex?
Yeah, I think a 6 is fair. He came on and he was running, just constantly running at people, trying to cut inside, get to the byline. He had a couple of shots, tried 4 crosses. He was trying to force the agenda. He was trying to get us points. I liked what I mean. I'm only giving him a 6, but yeah, it was positive. No issues with his attitude there. I thought he was brilliant.
I've gone for a 6 as well. Who was next on? Miggy wasn't
it was. So we made a double sub. It was Wilson and Miggy came on.
Okay, Billy.
I think I'll give them 2 between them. I don't think Wilson touched the ball. Miggy touched the ball too often. He was fucking awful.
Yeah.
I'll give them 1 apiece.
1 each. Okay.
Yeah.
Alex?
Well, I don't think we did a lot to bring Callum Wilson into the game. I don't think we helped him at all. So I'm going to score Wilson a 3, but I think the caveat to that is you've got to help him. You can't give Wilson the ball just in front of the midfield and expect him to do what Isak does. He's not that guy. Miggy, a 1 as well. If I've given Cher a 1, then Miggy deserves a 1. He was absolutely abysmal in ball retention. He kept trying to win throws and it would go to the opposition. The press was poor. Link-up play was poor. Decision making was poor. All of it was poor. The only thing that wasn't poor was energy. And yeah, a 1. And okay. By the way, me and Billy had this chat last night. I think this season we knew that this was an audition for either Miggy or Murphy to stay in the squad as the backup right winger going forward, because we're going to have to buy another one. And I think it's very clear that Murphy's the guy. Miggy had to have pulled something out of the bag this year. He's not done anything. It's definitely going to be Murphy to stay.
Yeah. I'm just deciding whether to score him plus or negative for Miggy. I've given Wilson a 3.
You can give him a 0. That's neither.
Yeah. He's getting out for me. He was shit. Trippier came on too late to really score him. So we're left with the manager, Eddie Howe, Billy.
Well, positives first. At least he stayed with the basics of playing players in the right positions to start with. But his second half managerial in-game performance was absolutely abysmal. He took Jacob Murphy off when he was our best player. Put Harvey Barnes on the right side where he's totally ineffective. We've seen it every time and time again. When Harvey Barnes isn't on the left wing, he's a waste of having him in the squad. So that change was awful. Panic stations and then taking off your most creative defender to bring another creative defender and fine. Why not have 2 with 2 goals behind? 1 goal behind, 2 goals behind. Why not have both of them on the pitch? Awful. I'll give him it's hard to score him because I thought his team selection was okay. And the first half performance was okay, but the second half was absolutely abysmal. 3 for me.
Okay. I've gone with a 4. I guess similar reasons, really. I thought the team lineup was fine. I understood why he took Gordon and Tonali out. The first half, it's not his fault. The errors are just not his fault. I thought we looked lively. However, second half, that all changed with some very strange decisions, substitute-wise, square pegs in round holes again. So I've gone with a 4. Alex?
I'm going to go with a 5. I really liked the starting lineup. I understood dropping Gordon and Tonali based on, obviously, medical reasons, that decision on fatigue, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Cracking first half. I think he's done a lot in terms of trying to make the attack not stale. They've obviously worked on a lot. Set pieces were better. A lot of it was really, really good. But I think a lot of the goals we conceded were down to individual errors, which I'm not going to blame the manager when Fabian Schär is just deciding to switch off. Eddie Howe needs him to step up, and he's just not doing it. And unfortunately for Eddie, not really anyone else to bring in. He's gonna, if it gets any worse, he is just gonna have to put Kelly in there because it's getting so bad.
For minute 1 stats, he was doing that. He could have took him off, brought Kelly on.
Yeah, well, that's a big move. You risk upsetting dressing rooms when you make moves like that, though. I agree.
It's not the happiest place in the world now.
No, I know. But I'll go with a 5. There was a lot I liked. However, I think some of the players massively let him down because I'm sorry, Eddie Howe, I think, is a really good coach. And he's not saying to Joe Linton and Sean, you know what, when we lose the ball, can we just jog back? Just take your time. Obviously, he's not coaching that. Of course he's not. They got to do better for him. They work with a bunch of coaches. You've not got bloody Graham, Jason, and Eddie all stood there going, "Nah, lads, when we lose the ball, take your time." Obviously, they're not doing that. They're not idiots. They're fantastic coaches. And the fact that you've then got Dan Burn and Schär making a lot of individual errors, mistimed of headers, losing duels. Fine. The subs, agreed. Murphy should not have come off. I think that's a massive error. I don't understand taking Hall off. I think that's strange. I think bringing Tonali and Gordon on were the right substitutions, but I think he took the wrong people off.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll go with the 5 because there was a lot that was right. A lot of players let him down, but I can't go any higher than the 5 because we've lost the game. We've conceded 4, and the subs were a bit weird. So, 5.
Do you know what I want to see? What I would love to hear or, know what's going on is that, tomorrow when the players go in, they all get together in the dressing room without the coaches there, without Eddie Howe there, and have a good sort of debrief themselves before the manager even comes into the dressing room. Because I think certain things have got to be said in the dressing room. And when you're getting accused by legends of the club like Alan Shearer of having an attitude problem, that something is not right at the football club, it is down to these players to pull their heads out of their arses and get into gear. Because I don't think it was all down to do with Eddie Howe yesterday. Yes, his substitutions were strange, But how the hell can he defend? He could do nothing about that first goal. Dan Burn was almost backing off onto his goal line. Shea has to come across.
It was 1v1.
Yeah.
Joelinton's got to help.
Yeah, and he can't help anything about Harvey Barnes' atrocious pass. The third goal, he's watching his centre-backs just staring at the ball and missing it completely. It's just bollocks. And I know there's a lot of people wanting Eddie Howe out, and I realise that. And I think, Billy, you're one of them. However, I still think that I want Eddie to stay at the end of the season at least. I've thought about it a lot, and I do want him to stay. But I think the problem is that football, the way it is, it's very, very harsh at times. And I think if Eddie doesn't start getting results, I think the next 4 games for me are going to be an indication of where we are. I think if we fail in these 4 games, I think he may well be gone. But I really do hope. I like Eddie Howe. I think he's a fantastic manager, and I want him to win a trophy at Newcastle. I'd be so proud if we went got to the Carabao Cup final and won it, and see Eddie lifting that at the end as well. And I know I might have a pipe dream here. It may be a pipe dream. I know he's under pressure. He'll be feeling it, but I think the players have to step up as well. They really have to step up, because some of the attitudes we're seeing with the players are just bollocks, man. You look at Fabian Schär, the way he was passing the ball yesterday with that lazy little body language of his. If I was on the pitch, I'd give him a rocket, but there's nobody doing that right now. And Eddie can only do so much from the sidelines. The players themselves have got the bollocks.
That's not the first time Fabian Schär's done that. He's done it more than 3 or 4 times this season. Why is he still being played? Play. What's his face there? Kenny there.
Yeah,
Take him out of the team.
That is a big change to the back.
It doesn't matter. He's putting points week in, week out. And it's making the team atmosphere worse.
Yeah, we're getting to that point now.
Consistently losing games.
We are. We're definitely getting to that point, and I think it's because if there's any criticism, I want to see Eddie being a bit more ruthless and say, look,
absolutely,
I don't care who you are, Fabian. Your attitude's not right. You're playing absolutely shite at them, and I don't know what's wrong with you. I'm taking you out of the.
Let's not forget he had a good game against Liverpool, so Fabian Schär had to start
game all season, Alex. He's been
no. But I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying that because he had a good game at Liverpool, he has to start against Brentford. Obviously,
I understand that, but he's got to be more.
Now he's had a bad game again. Now
that's what
I
want to
came before the Liverpool game when he had 2 or 3 games on the trot where he was lackadaisical. The red card first game of the season was madness. I don't think he was punished enough for that.
I think the fans have been really kind to him. We let him off that red. We go, we love you really, Fab. Don't worry about it. We've been but
he earned that in a way because of his previous sport. I think he earned that. But now the time has come where there's been too many performances like yesterday where we have to start saying, right, the time is now to take him out the side.
There's huge percentages of the fan base that have a go at Sean when things go wrong and Burn. And I think Fabian's been putting in poor performances long enough now where there needs to be a bit of you need dropping Fabian. You're not doing good enough. Whether it's attitude or quality or both.
He says, Alex, in his press conferences, when he's talking about people coming into the side, that they have to do enough to stay in the side, right? So why is it not the same the other way around? That's the question that I would ask Eddie. If you're not performing, how are you in the side week in, week out? When there's
the
other
issue is
players
that Kelly
there
didn't
that can't do any worse.
As well.
Yeah. Anyway, let's take a look at the poll before we finish the show. We asked you, Eddie Howe in or out? Shake it all about. What do you reckon, guys?
I'm not sure. I think there's still a lot of Eddie fans who want to give him extra chances. I'm not in that opinion myself. I think he should be gone rather than delaying the obvious. But I'm going to say 60% in.
60% in, Alex?
I think it's going to be less than that on this chat. I'm going to say, because you've given us 3 options, right? You've given us a yes, you've given us an in, out, and an on the fence. So I think the yeses in terms of the ins is going to be about 40, maybe 35 to 40%. And then it's going to be split in the next two bits. So it's about a third for each, maybe a bit higher.
Well, I could tell you, we've had well over 1,000 votes on this. Eddie Howe in is at 31%.
So
out is 44%, and on the fence, 25%.
So what's that? That's 56% are a combination of in and on the fence.
I'll put it this way: it's changed
60,
a lot.
66.
That's yeah.
31 and 25. 56.
56. Yeah.
Oh, for in. Yeah.
Well, that's for not out.
No, I mean,
Basically,
that's the
yeah.
highest we've had out.
So what's the overall out figure? Was it 40?
44.
44 is an out figure.
So nearly half the votes want them out, if you look at it that way. Jesus, I mean that has changed. And the only reason I've done that is just to see where our viewers are. It's nothing cynical. So don't come up. You say, no, you shouldn't be doing that. But it's just a poll to see where our viewers are right now with regards to the manager and how they're feeling about him. So that's all it's for. But guys, just to let you know that we are going to be putting the shows back on as podcasts on Spotify and iTunes, etc., or wherever you get your podcasts from. So please look for the Toon Review and subscribe. It's free to do that on the podcasts. But if you want to listen to the show again, when you're walking the dog or whatever, or in the car, you can listen to the podcast. So that will be available round about an hour after the show. And also don't forget that we are on our second channel as well, at TTR Xtra, the home of football, which is everything away from Newcastle United as well. So we thank everybody for subscribing to that so far. Well over nearly 1,500 now, which is absolutely cracking for a new channel. But thank you very much for watching, everybody. Thank you to all who have super chatted and new memberships, etc. Mods, thank you so much. Billy and Alex, thank you very much. Massive shout out to Managerial Records, our sponsor. Please check them out. If you can't get into Whitley Bay to see them, they do have a website which is pinned at the top of the description. Some fantastic deals. If you say that you're a TTR viewer, Steve will look after you. Lots of stuff available, certainly for Christmas coming up as well. So thanks again to Managerial Records. But thank you to you guys out there. It's been a very
man of the match.
No, it's been a very interesting conversation tonight. I'm not doing a man of the match.
Jacob Murphy. There you go.
Well, yeah, Murphy. Fair enough.
I agree with that.
There's not many candidates on a 4-2 defeat, to be fair, guys. So, yeah, we'll go for Murphy. But the poll was more about the manager, just to see where you guys are sitting with it. But thank you very much for watching, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, folks, and we'll see you again very soon. Good night.
Au revoir, Edouard.
Come back and check out some green.